Salutations, everyone. This is Razor here, giving you guys another movie review where a couple of movies came out this weekend, After Earth and Now You See Me. I had the pleasure of seeing both yesterday. They both came out today, so I'm going to be giving you guys my movie review of each movie. First, starting off with After Earth, the Jaden Smith vehicle with some help from Daddy Will. This is very interesting because not until the day that I saw the movie that I found something very interesting out about this movie, and you might be surprised too. The director of After Earth is none other than M. Night Shyamalan. I know, right? How did we not know about this? How was this not more out there? They're totally burying it. Remember back in the day, even to like his last film, that Airbender piece of shit, it was always a selling point that this is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. M. Night Shyamalan presents this, presents that. M. Night Shyamalan's whatever. And he's gotten such a bad rap because he's made 4 or 5 movies in a row that have been very negatively received. So they are totally burying the fact that After Earth is being directed by M. Night Shyamalan because they know it's a turnoff. They know it's a turnoff for moviegoers. So that's very interesting because he used to be the selling point, and now they're trying to bury the fact that he's attached to films and saying this. Oh, this is just it's the Will Jaden Smith movie with they're going back to Earth and animals and shit. So very very interesting. Um, and the fact that this is directed by M. Night Shyamalan should be a fair warning to all of you out there who have not seen the movie. It's not very good. It's not very good at all. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I don't ever remember seeing a movie in the theater. Maybe I have if it's out on DVD or on TV or something that has that this many plot holes. It is ridiculous how many plot holes there are in this movie. There were so many times watching this film, I would just shake my head and be like, "What are you doing?" Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those moviegoers that just wants to tear apart every movie that they see and find like all the mistakes. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for a lot of things. I don't watch Star Wars and be like, "Oh, well, that movie sucked. The Force isn't real." I'm not one of those people. A movie can make sense within its own fiction, but what it has to do, it has to set up a fiction and then stay within it. It can't break away from that in any way. It has to follow its own rules. And when a movie doesn't do that, it's really frustrating. There's a lot of really obvious things that are wrong with this film that are just amazing to me. I'm actually gonna do a spoiler part of at the end of this movie where or at the end of this video where I just go over some of the major plot points that are totally fucked up in this movie. And I've probably missed like 80% of them because I've only saw the movie one time through. But a lot of people are saying that this is just the Jaden Smith vehicle to help boost his career. He kind of got introduced in like with that 7 Pounds movie or uh Pursuit of Happiness, whatever the fuck it was. And then he kind of got his career pushed with Karate Kid, which was actually a good film. The Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith, actually a good film. I know it's kung fu, but whatever. But this movie is just a shallow attempt at trying to, launch his career into, a starring role kind of a thing. And Will Smith is there too. Will Smith does an okay job at a poorly written movie. And Jaden Smith is, I'm sorry, I don't think he's going to be a very good actor. He was a pretty good kid actor, run of the mill, but I don't know how old he is now, 15. He's not a very good teenage actor. In almost every scene, it seems like he's on the verge of crying every time. And the plot of this movie isn't very complicated at all. It's pretty straightforward. There is some stuff in the beginning that they go through really fast that might lose some people. There's lots to keep track of in the beginning of the movie that becomes more important at the as the movie goes on. But it's pretty simple. It's the typical trope of military dad with a son that he barely knows or you know has any sort of relationship with, and the kid wants to be just like dad. He wants to show him that he could be a soldier too, and it's just really, formulaic in the way that they go about it. They go through all of the cliches, they go through all of the tropes of these kinds of movies with a father son that aren't really that close, that go through something difficult together. So they crash land on the planet Earth, for plot reasons that aren't really that important, and they're the only two survivors on the ship. Will Smith is kind of banged up, so he needs to have his son go and find other wreckage of the ship where there's like a distress beacon that they can launch and be saved, which is really ridiculous, in that of itself. And I'll get into that later, but there's just so many things wrong with this movie. There's just too many to name. It's very poorly written. It's very formulaic. The acting is okay by some, and really they're pushing it too far with adding, because Jaden, I don't remember the name of the character, but Jaden Smith's character really is the central focus of the movie. For most of the entire film, it's just him out in the wilderness, which is, okay. He doesn't have to have a breakthrough performance. Like, it's not like he was so bad that it ruined the movie. It's just it was so poorly written. There were so many plot holes. It was absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. The scenery, okay. Some of the CG stuff was a little over the top, but nothing too poor there. Um, but there was just a lot of things that just totally pulled you out of the film. Be like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is fucked up. Like there are some things like I'm not gonna start throwing out spoilers. Yeah, I'll give you guys fair warning if you do want to see this movie, which I wouldn't recommend. And it's been getting bad reviews all around, so I'm totally not alone in this. And it's not just because it was an M Night Shyamalan movie, because a lot of people didn't know that going in, including myself. And this is definitely a low point for Will Smith in his last few movies. He did an okay job of with a terrible script, but that being said, this is M. Night Shyamalan's best movie in a while. And I know that's really weird to say that a low point for Will Smith is a high point for someone else. But when you have a career like M. Night Shyamalan, that is not saying much, really, at all. That's like saying Uwe Ball puts out his best movie yet, which would, still be a piece of shit and be true. M. Night Shyamalan has been getting, a lot of bad rap for the movies that he's made, especially how well his career started and the way that it turned with Lady in the Water, which gets a bad rap for I don't know what reason. It's not perfect, but it's not as terrible as a lot of people think. The Happening was bad, and The Last Airbender is just taking a shit on probably the greatest animated series, greatest American animated series of all time, and he just took a shit on it. I haven't even seen the movie, because I think I would rage quit like 5 minutes in after seeing it, because it's just so ridiculous. I've seen so many bad things about it and heard so many bad things about it that it doesn't need to be seen. But he's put out so many bad movies that this is going to redeem himself in some people's eyes, because it's not the worst movie of the year. It definitely is not worst movie of the year. Maybe not even the second worst movie of the year, but it's a bad movie, guys. So I'm gonna go into spoiler mode right now. So fair warning, I'm gonna start with some spoilers, with some plot holes, those things that I find absolutely ridiculous in this movie. So if you aren't planning on seeing this movie, you want to hear how shitty it is, or if you have seen this movie and you want to know what I really think, stay tuned. So first off, spoilers for those of you who haven't clicked away yet that don't want spoilers. Okay, the technology in this film makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, the ship crashes and there's these two little remote beacons that you have to use for a distress call. There's not a button in the cockpit that does this. It's these two very fragile little devices, and there's only two of them in separate parts of the ship. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. There should totally be something built in. I mean, technology nowadays isn't this shitty. Oh, yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous how there's these 2 little beacons, that's the only way to get a distress signal out there, that there's not buttons all over the ship that allow you to do this sort of thing. Stupid. And also, ghosting, okay, that's kinda cool and all this stuff, fighting these Ursas, and these, the little blade things, forget cutlasses. Yeah, those are pretty cool, they can change to different kind of blade things, that's nice and all that, but wouldn't fighting these enemies be so easier if they used a fucking gun? Jesus Christ. Why do they have to use knives? Why do they have to use knives fighting these things? It wouldn't matter if you were fearful if you're, 50 yards away with a machine gun taking these things out. Absolutely ridiculous. Bring a gun. Bring a gun. They have all this technology, but they forgot that guns are a thing. They forget that you can project and hurl deadly things at things to make them die. Crazy. I mean, they have some cool technology, but they've lost a lot of shit. And also ghosting, the ability, I could suspend my disbelief and say that okay, there's some Hal Jordans and some Matt Murdochs out there that have no fear. That's fine. But if this is really an issue where this is something that these soldiers need to have, why don't they just take out the amygdala in the brain, do a little bit of brain surgery, and all of a sudden, bam, no fear. Not really an issue. Something a simple thing that we can do now is something that they're not going to do in the future. That's a little crazy. Also, Ursa, kind of a shitty monster. Looks like a tiny Cloverfield monster that's really pale and dumb looking. Why is it called an Ursa? I understand that's a pretty cool name, but everybody knows Ursa is Latin for bear. The monster looks nothing like a bear whatsoever. That's everyone, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major constellations, everyone knows those are bears. Ursa is Latin for bear. Why is the Ursa absolutely nothing like a bear? Now to the breathing liquid, the liquid that he has to inhale every 20 to 24 hours in order to, keep breathing because the oxygen levels have, fluctuated, which is fine, perfectly believable. But there are 4 that he inhales, and then 2 that he gets at the end when he is at the tail of the ship. If these things supposed to last 20 to 24 hours, he is taking way too many. He is out in the wilderness for like 2.5, 3 days tops, and he's taken 6 of these breathing liquids. It's like either your math is fucked up or Will Smith lied to you about the duration that these breathing liquids are going to be useful to you. Absolutely ridiculous. Couldn't they have changed how long they're supposed to last or how many he uses? Now to Earth. Okay, we get it. We'll recycle. This is like the second out of like 3 or 4 movies this year that are about Earth going to shit. And most or all people leaving the planet. First you had Oblivion, now you got After Earth. Later there's Elysium, and probably like 1 or 2 other movies that don't aren't on my mind right now. So I'm gonna put that aside for now. But okay, Will Smith's character. Why are you saying that these animals are evolved to kill humans when humans haven't been on Earth for over a millennia? That makes absolutely no sense. And also, okay, the earth changes and all that. We don't pollute, we get it. But that the fact that they have the temperatures fluctuating between day and night to be like really hot to snap freezing, that is ridiculous. Floriculture would not be able to survive in those types of conditions in most parts of the world. Ridiculous. Also, the bird that saves Jaden Smith at like halfway, like toward the end of the movie, makes no sense. Okay, I get it that they steal this stupid little thing where a bird picks up the main character and puts him in the nest. We saw this in Jurassic Park, we saw this in Land Before Time, and probably other lots of shitty movies that use the same shit over and over and over again. But okay, I get it. The bird wants the baby birds to eat up Jaden Smith, which it think it's dead, but he's really just knocked out. And then the saber-toothed tigers come up, and the mama bird has to protect its nest and stuff. And the kid is also trying to kill these lions and somewhat try to protect the little baby birds, which ends up getting killed. But how is the mama bird supposed to know that this kid was protecting her young? I understand that he killed a couple of these saber-tooth tigers, but why does she follow him and fly, miles around this kid to move him out of danger just in case. Why would she care? Why would she follow him even if she knew that he was protecting her young? Her young is dead. Shouldn't she have more important things to worry about than flying next to this kid just in case he happens to fall asleep in the cold and put him in this magical spot where he's warm and then sacrifice herself? I understand it's like, oh, I feel sorry for the bird and cute little, moment there in the movie, but come on, that is a ridiculous thing to try to buy into. Also, the flashbacks where the Ursa kills the kid's sister, which he feels guilty for because the sister was clearly the dad's favorite because she was older and all that shit. They never explain how the Ursa gets into the apartment and kills the older sister. They've made it clear that they are up multiple stories in this apartment. How did the Ursa get there? Did it use that elevator and completely purposefully direct its attack against like the top military dude's oldest daughter? That's ridiculous. How did it get there? Did it take the stairs? Did it phone call beforehand to make sure that this was going to be okay? Crazy, absolutely crazy. Also, when he's trying to escape from the Ursa and the volcano and he jumps into the water, correct me if I'm wrong. Could be wrong here. But if there's a pocket of water inside of a volcano, wouldn't that water be, I don't know, a little hot? Wouldn't that be a little dangerous to swim inside water that's inside of a volcano? Okay, and the distress beacon. Okay, I get that he wants to shoot it up at when he gets it at the tail and get the distraction out there, and but there's electromagnetic interference. But they fuck it up. Okay, there's electromagnetic interference. That makes sense. The volcano with the ash and the cloud, and okay, I get that. Totally believable. So, in order to fix this problem of the cloud of the volcano being electromagnetic disturbance, what is the solution to it? Get closer to the volcano? Are you shitting me? How does that help? By getting closer to the source of the interference. Why doesn't he backtrack to where he came from, where A, he would be going back to the ship where his father is anyway, which he has to go in order to, be with his dad, hopefully save his dad, and be there when the rescue team comes. Also, there is clearly no cloud interference where he was just a couple hours before he gets to the tail. Why doesn't he just backtrack instead of going A, closer to the interference, which makes no sense, and B, closer to the Ursa, which wants to kill humans for some reason? Absolutely ridiculous. That, oh my gosh. And also, if there's electromagnetic interference, how is Will Smith's character able to maintain visual contact with his son? He can't get the damn flare gun off because of electromagnetic interference. He can't communicate with his son. He can hear Jaden, but he can't talk to him. So why can't he do one or the other? Why can't he's either they should be able to do both or none at all. Also, he says that the reason that his son can't hear him is because of that interference. So why is he able to maintain visual contact, which they never explained within the film? It's not like there's these drones. I understand he shoots out a lot of drones to like trying to find the Ursa and map out the area, but there's never explained that there's cameras on these drones, so they're obviously not following him. I understand there could be cameras on his clothes and stuff, but the camera angles that Will Smith always sees are third person angles pointed around Jaden. It's like, where are these cameras? How is he getting this view? They could explain it easily with like, oh, these are magical invisible cameras that follow him everywhere. That'd be stupid, but at least it'd be an attempt at explaining this. Absolutely stupid. And also the Moby Dick thing. Oh my gosh, could they shove that down our throats any harder? When they first mention Moby Dick, right away you understand, okay, Moby Dick is going to be an important part. There's going to be sort of like uh a parallel story to Moby Dick and this movie, which we totally get. We see this in movies all the time where they mention something that the audience is going to be familiar with and then have a parallel story to it. But wow, they kept talking about Moby Dick over and over and over again. It's like, we get it. You don't have to spell it out that this movie's like Moby Dick, that Ursa is the white whale and that he needs to hunt and kill the white whale because the white whale's bad, which is the Ursa, which is bad for humans. It's like, we get it. Quit mentioning Moby Dick. We understand that there's a parallel parallel storyline here with a very famous piece of literature. My goodness. Okay, that's all that I could think on the top of my head right now. I'm sorry, but there's just so many dumb things with this movie. Like, oh my gosh, in the crash of the damn ship. Why is Jaden Smith the only non-Will Smith character to survive? We get that both of them have to survive for there to be a story and there to be a plot line, but can't some survive the crash and then get killed by the Ursa later, which sends up some sort of dramatic climactic conclusion battle with the Ursa at the end? That would have been fine. But no, in the crash, there's clearly all these rangers are scrambling around the ship as if they're fixing something or they have something to do with making the ship better, which is clearly not the case. They're all scrambling around like they have jobs to do. When they make it completely obvious that only the two pilots and the commanding officer, Will Smith, have any control over what is going on with the ship, its trajectory, the wormholes, and all the other stuff. Only they have control of what's going on the ship, and yet everyone else is like running around looking like they're doing stuff that's important, which is clearly not important. Why didn't they just strap in like Jaden Smith and survive the damn crash? No, not a single person strapped in, even though they knew that they were going to crash land on a very dangerous planet. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, that's it for all. Bad movie. M. Night Shyamalan's best in a while. Still, somehow, poorly written, poorly acted. Hope you guys enjoyed. And be sure to stay tuned for my Now You See Me review up tomorrow, which is the better film out of the two.